Kunja Bihari. Dvijamani Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhu Shri Srimad Prabhupada Ki Jai. Skon BBTBI Sangstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Amala Purana Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled Vaishnavas. All glories to Guru and Gauranga. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shmati Sri Kariti Namini. Namo Prabhupada Nuka Prema Vitsikapatmane Gaura Desha Vikashartutam Bhakti Varshini. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 20, which is entitled, who remembers? Conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. And this is text number 28. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Saha Avadharya Karpanyam Sobadaryasya Karpanyam Vivikta Adhyatma Darshanaha Viviktadhyatma Darshanaha Vimuncha Atmatanum Ghoram Vimunchatmatanum Ghoram Iti Uktaha Vimumocha Ha Ityukto Vimumocha Ityukto Vimumocha Sovadharyasya Karpanyam Viviktadhyatma Darshanaha Vimunchatma Tanum Ghoram Ityukto Vimumochaha. Sovadharyasya karpanyam karpanyam Vidyatmatadarshanah Vimunchatmatanum ghoram Ityukto vimumochaha Sovadharyasya karpanyam Vibhiktadhyatmadarshanaha Yukto vimumochaha Sovadharyasya karpanyam Viviktadhyatmadarshanaha Muktam Yukto Sovadharyasya karpanyam Vimunchatma tanungoram Ityukto vimumocha. Vaishnavis. Sovadharyasya karpanyam Viviktadhyatma darshanaha Vimunchatma tanungoram Ityukto vimumocha. Sovadharyasya karmanyam darshanaha Vimunchatma Ityukto vimumocha. Saha, the Supreme Lord Hari, Avadharya, perceiving, Asya, of Lord Brahma, Karpanyam, the distress, Vivikta, without a doubt, Adhyatma, minds of others, Darshanaha, one who can see, Vimuncha, cast off, Atmatanum, your body, Ghoram, impure, Iti uktaha, thus commanded, Vimumochaha, Lord Brahma threw it off. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport. The Lord, who can distinctly see the minds of others, perceived Brahma's distress and said to him, "Cast off this impure body of yours." Thus commanded by the Lord, Brahma cast off his body. Purport. The Lord is described here by the word Viviktadhyatma darshanaha. If anyone can completely perceive another's distress without doubt, it is the Lord Himself. If someone is in distress and wants to get relief from his friend, sometimes it so happens that his friend does not appreciate the volume of distress he is suffering. But for the Supreme Lord, it is not difficult. The Supreme Lord, as Paramatma, is sitting within the heart of every living entity, and He directly perceives the exact causes of distress. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishtaha, I am sitting in everyone's heart, and because of me, one's remembrance and forgetfulness occur. Thus, whenever one fully surrenders unto the Supreme Lord, one finds that he is sitting within one's heart. He can give us direction how to get out of dangers, or how to approach him in devotional service. The Lord, however, asked Brahma to give up his present body because it had created the demoniac principle. According to Sridhar Swami, Brahma's constant dropping of his body does not refer to his actually giving up his body. Rather, he suggests that Brahma gave up a particular mentality. Mind is the subtle body of the living entity. We may sometimes be absorbed in some thought which is sinful, but if we give up the sinful thought, it may be said that we give up the body. Brahma's mind was not in correct order when he created the demons. It must have been full of passion because the entire creation was passionate. Therefore, such passionate sons were born. It follows that any father and mother should also be careful while begetting children. The mental condition of a child depends upon the mental status of his parents at the time he is conceived. According to the Vedic system, therefore, the Garbhadhana Sanskara, or the ceremony for giving birth to a child, is observed. Before begetting a child, one has to sanctify his perplexed mind. When the parents engage their minds in the lotus feet of the Lord, and in such a state the child is born, naturally good devotee children come. When the society is full of such good population, there is no trouble from demoniac mentalities. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tang Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Everyone please. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangung Langhaite Grim Yat Kripa Tamahang Bande Shri Guru Dinataranam Sobadharyasya Karpanyam Viviktatyatmatarshanaha Vimunchatma Tanunghoram Ityukto Vimumochaha. The Lord, who can distinctly see the minds of others, perceived Brahma's distress and said to him, "Cast off this impure body of yours." Thus commanded by the Lord, Brahma cast off his body. So, while we were reciting the verse, something came to my mind. This word, karpanyam. Does anyone know where else we find that word? Bhagavad Gita 2.7. Yeah, and what does it mean in that context? Miserly. And here, distressed. Yeah. It also appears in one other verse. Thank you, Mata. It also appears in one other verse. that I was looking at last night. I might need some help with this one. It's the 6 symptoms of surrender given in Sharanagati. So that is anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam, rakshishyatiti vishvaso, then goptritve varanang tata, atma nikshepa karpanye. There it is. Shadvidha sharanagati. So in this context, karpanya, it means actually humility. Humility. So we see the three usages here. The distressed, as Mataji said, it was miserly weakness, thank you, and humility. So realizing our miserly weakness, we become distressed and we become humble also. So, I don't know, I just made that up. I don't know if that actually, if that actually follows. But, yes. And we see that Brahma here is actually practicing this surrender. He's showing an example for us that specifically, rakshishyatiti vishvaso. That he has faith that who can protect him in this instance? Who does he turn to in this moment of fear and distress? He turns to the Supreme Lord. So that is also what we need to practice, right? So these are all, this is a process of becoming surrendered to the Lord. Actually, this karpanya, it includes all the other processes. Accepting what's favorable, rejecting what's unfavorable, accepting the Lord as one's only protector and maintainer, surrendering everything for the service of the Lord. Then this is actually the full picture of humility. Right? That then one realizes his dependence on the Lord and he becomes a humble, surrendered soul, ready to carry out the Lord's order without any resistance or hesitation. And that is the most pure type of existence. So, yes, Krishna also speaks in Bhagavad Gita about this ability to perceive the distress in others. Of course, the Lord is the most perfect. But he describes this, you'll be surprised to know, this is actually yoga. Krishna calls this, he says, the greatest yogi is one who can perceive others' distress. Yeah, he says, Atma upamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna sukham va yadiva dukham sayogi paramo mataha. He is a perfect yogi, who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress. So the purport is very wonderful. Let's have a look. It's just chapter 6. Does anybody know the verse number? No. 32. One who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He's aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being, the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. So when we're in distress, Prabhupada says here, we might approach a friend to try to relieve us of that stress, of that distress. And you can maybe reflect and see in your own experience, if someone can appreciate what you're going through, it takes away some of that burden, doesn't it? Just knowing that someone can appreciate and they can glance at you with mercy, with understanding. I know what you're going through, and I'm wishing you well, and I hope that you can find the way out. And if they're enlightened and they can help you, then that's Krishna Shakti. Krishna Shakti vina nahi tara pravartana. One cannot preach without this Shakti of Krishna. One cannot inject the seed of love for Krishna. into others. The love is there, but one cannot bestow that seed of bhakti without this ability to perceive the distress in others. And the happiness. But of course we know that the happiness of this world, dukkha mashashvatam, even if you experience happiness in this world, there's an element of distress within the happiness. If you analyze it like chemistry, within our happiness there is an element of distress because it's ashashvatam. It has to come to an end. And knowing that, somewhere, all of us are aware we're all intelligent beings. We know somewhere in the back of our mind, this will end. There is cause for distress. Thank you, Maharaj. Easy. We have a Kavi Raj. Thank you, Maharaj. Yes. Not only the way you express things, but also the tone of voice and everything. It's like so soothing. Thank you, Maharaj. Yeah. So this is pleasing to Krishna, right? If we learn to acquire this characteristic of perceiving others' distress, but it comes when we find out our own cause of distress and happiness, because Krishna says, atma upamyena, by comparison with oneself. So if we have nothing to compare to, we can't understand what others are going through. Therefore, the perfect yogi knows himself. And by that self-realization, he can understand the self of others, because the qualitative oneness exists among all beings. Therefore, the acharyas are unlimitedly merciful. Narottam Das Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, they've given us whole compendiums of prayers because they know what we're going through, you know? When you feel that no one knows what you're going through, then you're in more distress, right? But when you go to the acharyas, Hari Hari Bifale Janama Gongainu Manusha Janama Paya Radha Krishna Na Bhajiya Janiya Shuniya Vishakainu Hari Hari Bifale Janama Gongainu. Oh my Lord Hari, I have wasted my life because I have not spent my time worshipping Radha and Krishna. Rather, I have been eagerly drinking poison, creating distress for myself and others. So when we realize the cause of our own distress, we can understand the same cause in others and help them to remember. What is it? Bhuktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. Then suhridam sarvabhutanam Gyatva mam shantim richati. Yeah, without peace, there can be no happiness. So we want to spread this peace through Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Prabhupada writes here, the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is sitting within the heart of every living entity, and he directly perceives the exact causes of distress. Whenever one fully surrenders under the Supreme Lord, one finds he's sitting within one's heart. So when a devotee is in distress, he thinks like this. Brahma explains the mentality of a devotee. Tatenu kampam susamikshamana punjana evatma kritang vipakam hridvagva vir vidadhan namaste jivete yamukti pade sadhaya bhak. There's an interesting word in this sloka, susamikshamanaha. So it says, Brahma says that the devotee is feeling distress, and he thinks, as soon as he feels that distress, that acute pain, he thinks, you know, I deserve this. Actually, I deserve much worse. But my Lord is so kind. As a token, he's giving me this reaction so I can realize my folly and root out those bad elements, those deviations in my mentality, so that I can finally come back to his lotus feet for eternal service. Susamikshamana. I looked this word up in Vedabase. I see it's in it's in 2 other verses in Prabhupada's books. One is in Mahaprabhu is quoting it, or someone is quoting it in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then also in the 2nd canto, chapter 2, text 3, it says Samikshamana. So it's translated as earnestly hoping for. One is earnestly hoping for the mercy of the Lord in times of distress. But also it means iksha. Iksha means to see. Samikshamana means to perfectly see, clearly see. And then susamikshamana, even more it's amplified. So when we're in distress, the first reaction of a conditioned soul is, why is this person doing this to me? He's causing my distress. He's not so thoughtful. Then by the practice, by the cultivation of goodness, one understands then, okay, maybe I did something to this person. And that reaction is coming through him back to me. Or maybe that person is going through something in their life that's creating so much anxiety that they cannot help but behave this way. Yeah? So that's more thoughtful. But then susamikshamana, the devotee is supremely thoughtful because he thinks, this person is simply acting an instrument because even in previous lives, I've been drinking the poison of sense gratification, and who knows how many countless sins I've performed, and how much more I deserve than this. And this person is simply a reminder that I need to surrender to Krishna. Yeah. So this very broad way of thinking, yeah, alleviates the distress and allows us to take shelter of Krishna. So Prabhupada continues to write. He says, the Lord can give us direction how to get out of dangers or how to approach Him in devotional service. So once that connection is there through sincere entreaty, through calling out to Krishna, then the Lord reciprocates. He helps us, Prabhupada says, how to get out of danger and how to approach Him in devotional service. So, reminds me of one passage. There was in the 10th canto. There's 2 instances where the Vrindavan had gone up in flames due to a forest fire, and the Krishna's friends, relatives, they approached Krishna. Krishna, Krishna Mahavira. They're looking for his. They're thinking he's empowered. He's one of us. But somehow or other, Krishna has a special, unique power. Perhaps it's coming from Narayan. Or maybe he's a demigod, But we're also, if he's a demigod, we're also demigods, so, because we're associating. So, he's like one of us. But we take shelter of Krishna to protect us from this forest fire, And Krishna immediately responded by breathing in the fire and extinguishing the flames. And there's a comment there by the disciples of Prabhupada, they're quoting the Acharyas, says that actually they weren't thinking about their own distress. They were thinking that if we are burned up in this fire, then who will play with Krishna, and who will provide Krishna that enjoyment that he loves? Yeah? So this is like a very deep type of surrender. And actually, Rupa Goswami says that we can practice self-preservation. It's not that we have to starve ourselves or something to prove our devotion to Krishna. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam anukulyena krishna anushilanam bhaktir uchate. So, we have to give up this, if we want to practice uttama bhakti, then we have to give up the desire for gain through fruitive work, through fruitive activities. And we have to give up the desire for elevation through just mental speculation. And we have to try to serve Krishna favorably. But that doesn't mean we can't do anything to maintain ourselves. Because that's included with, until we're on the liberated platform, we have to do things to protect ourselves, to keep ourselves nourished and so on, so that we can progress in Krishna Bhakti. So that is not against the principle of pure devotional service. So Krishna gives that intelligence, how to approach Him in devotional service when we turn to Him in our time of distress. The Lord, however, asked Brahma to give up his present body because it had created the demoniac principle. So when we approach Krishna, the first thing is Guru Padashraya. We have to come to the feet of the Guru. And first step, surrender. First thing. Oh, Krishna is God, the Guru is representative. Sakshat Haritvena, surrender. Then follow the Guru's instructions. Yeah. And this is our way out of danger. And this is our way to pure devotional service. And the Guru will tell us, gradually or quickly, depending on our own mentality, how to fix our mentality. Because it is our mentality that keeps us in the material world, and it is also a different kind of mentality which releases us from the entanglement in material energy. So the Guru will teach us, just as Brahma here is ordered by Krishna, asanga shastrena dridhena chitva, cut off this asanga, cut off this bad sangha, asat, cut it off, finish it right now, give up your body. Yeah? So we might not be able to change overnight very quickly, but by practicing devotional service, we become aware of the causes of our bondage in the material world. That's why the offense to the holy name, the offenses must be avoided. And the root offense it's said to be that it's inattentive chanting. Inattentive. Why is that? Why is inattentive the root of all the other offenses, right? One way to look at it is, yes, Prabhu? Yeah. One way of looking at it is that by attentively chanting, keeping the extra thoughts and conversations and scrolling off to the side while we're chanting, by attentive in body, mind, and in attitude, by being attentive to the holy name, then it is revealed to us, Krishna reveals to us how we are being offensive. Then we see what's going on inside, and then we have the opportunity to, just as Brahma is doing, cast that off, to give it up, to cut that attachment. But if we're not even aware of how we're attached and how we're performing offensive behavior, then how can we give it up? It's not just a magic, it's a yoga. Yoga means awareness. We have to become aware of what we're doing. Then we can give it up. So, my spiritual master is fond of quoting this verse, which also Srila Prabhupada quotes in Bhagavad Gita and elsewhere. Yadavadi mama cheta Krishna padara vinde nava nava rasataman yudyatum rantum asid tadavati badanari sangame smaryamane bhavati mukha vikara sushtu nishti vanangcha. So this is from Yamunacharya. And he says that ever since I've been performing devotional service to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, I've been experiencing a newer and newer rasa, a newer, ever newer taste. Of course, I personally am not experiencing that. But he says, Nava Nava Rasa, there's a newer taste, newer experiences, a fresher happiness all the time, at every step. Tadavati Badanari Sangam. And when I remember, because he had been involved in the life of a royal prince and a king, so he had access to the harem, as we would call them nowadays, the many beautiful girls who he enjoyed with. And he says, whenever I remember these experiences, my lips curl in distaste and I spit at the thought. So it is the, attachment to sense enjoyment that he's spitting at. And, for ladies, it's also applicable. They can think in the same way about the, like Rukmini, she was speaking to Krishna in Dwaraka, and she was saying that, what is this man who's my so-called protector? He's actually just a bag of flesh, and he's got hair growing from the lips and beard, and mustache, and he's actually completely under the control of the material energy. So what is this kind of protector? I want you only, she was saying to him. So it's applicable for everyone. Applicable. And we're not actually spitting at anyone, right? We're spitting at the thought because it is our own desire to enjoy that causes us to be attracted to temporary things. So this, the Guru is instructing, you know, remember this. Whenever that thought comes, that I can enjoy, that I can dominate, I can control, we spit at it immediately. It's a practice, it's a cultivation. You just keep trying, practicing, and eventually it becomes distasteful. But also, Navanavara Dhamman Nyudyatum Rantama. See, one has to also experience something else. You can't just keep rejecting. Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Natibi Kalavasani Krito Nidrahara Vihara Kadi Bijito Chatyanta Dinochayo Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajananandena Sammohito. How did the Goswamis give up eating and sleeping even? Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajananandena Sammohito. Actually, Prabhupada said they weren't really renounced. They were, but that renunciation was born of such extreme, wonderful pleasures within. Such an enjoyment they were experiencing. Remember the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, Sammohito, they were so enchanted, they practically couldn't remember to take care of anything in the external, of their own, you know, external necessities. This is actually standard of renunciation. This is yukta vairagya, right? Yukta vairagya. Accepting everything in connection with Krishna, using everything, finding the means and ways to use everything for Krishna's service, and giving up, you know, anything that we're not able to do that with. This is complete renunciation. So this is how our mind can be trained. In the Nectar of Instruction, in the very first verse, says that, I was surprised when I read this in the beginning, when I first came to Krishna consciousness, says that one can become a spiritual master, vachovegam manasa krodha vegam, by giving up or controlling the urges, these 6 urges, right? You can become a guru and make disciples all over the world. I was thinking, well, that sounds nice, you know, guru, disciples all over the world. Man, I don't know if anyone else was attracted. I mean, that's some good preaching on Rupa Goswami's part, right? Well, yeah, right on. All right, okay, what do I have to do here? Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha. Okay. Yeah, this is a program now. This is an intense program. You have to learn how to control these things. And what happens when you bring them under control? No more desire to be guru. It goes away. Then Mahaprabhu says, now you become a guru on my order. So, yeah, so this is, then we can practice, you know, we can practice these, giving up things that are unfavorable to bhakti, taking up things that are favorable, and performing, most importantly in sadhana bhakti, in the saving grace, is this verse, Dadami pratigrinati. Guyam akyati prichati bhunkte bhojayate chaiva shadvidha priti lakshanam. That one should practice the 6 loving exchanges with the Vaishnavas. One should give gifts, and if the Vaishnava offers you a gift, graciously accept it. One should reveal one's mind to a devotee who he trusts, and the devotee will offer advice, and one can meditate on that advice and take it as a direction from the Lord. Bhunkte Bhoja, this is very important. One should prepare and offer prasadam to the Vaishnavas and accept the prasadam which is lovingly served by one's god brothers and god sisters. Very important, very important. This will give us the strength to perform any austerities and go through the difficulties and distresses that are destined in our purification. So the last thing I'd like to say is that it's important to train the mind to feel danger, not only in moments of distress, like Brahma here is showing us, to grasp the lotus feet of the Lord when we feel there's no more shelters for us in this world. But actually we can cultivate that even in times of happiness. We can cast off this mentality that everything is fine and peaceful and I'm all right, you're all right, there's nothing I need to change as long as I'm feeling, you know, stable, healthy, you know, I'm honored, I have some good position in the society. Like, right, Because actually, you know, that's one of the tricks of Maya, to make us feel comfortable. Padang padang yet di padang nate sham. Actually, this world is full of danger at every step. So one has to be sober and aware of that. And, you know, again, Prabhupada's books, the writings of the Acharyas, are all giving us the method of training the mind in this way. It says, there's also Mana Shiksha by Raghunath Das Goswami, which is also a directions on how to make progress, just like the Upadeshamrita. And he writes there in his instructions to the mind, he says that give up friendship with non-devotees, which is nothing but a prostitute who will steal the treasure of your heart, O mind. He will steal the treasure of your desire to serve Radha and Krishna. Don't listen to talks of impersonal liberation, which are a tigress who devours everyone. You should even give up attraction for Lord Narayana, which leads to the world of Vaikuntha. Instead, O mind, just worship Shri Shri Radha, Krishna and Vraja, for they bestow upon their worshippers the jewel of pure love for themselves. The highwaymen of lust and his friends have bound me around the neck with the painful, horrible, powerful ropes of many wicked deeds. O mind, please scream out to the devotees of Krishna, the killer of Baka, I am being killed. Then he will save me. O mind, why do you burn us both by bathing in the urine trickling from the ass of great deviousness and hypocrisy? Instead, you should delight us by eternally bathing in the glistening nectar ocean of pure love for Shishi Gandharva Giridhari. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami ki jai. And of course, the last thing in the purport mentioned is how to have proper children in Krishna consciousness. So simply put, Prabhupada said that the devotees who are wanting to make children should do 50 rounds of japa, both husband and wife, each 50 rounds, and plan to do it at the time of the month when it's most likely that the child will be conceived. And that will beget wonderful Krishna conscious children for making the population pure and happy, and no more demoniac mentalities. Srila Prabhupada ki. We can stop here unless the senior Vaishnavas would like to make any corrections or chastisements. Okay, yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I try to understand one point according to what you said in class. So more you are advancing, you know, more you are pure, you know, come to the stage of, you know, higher stage, Ruchya, Shakti, you know, Bhava, you know, more you are actually, more you have impurity in yourself. But at the same time, you know, more you are aware to see actually that you still have impurity. So is it a little bit contradictory? You know, more you're advancing, more you're aware of your impurity. And you understand my question?
That sounds correct to me.
Yeah, and
but I'm not advanced.
So is it contradictory then? Basically, more you're pure, more you don't have impurity in some sense. But at the same time, you're aware there is still some impurity there. So is it contradictory a little bit? These two things.
Yeah, is it contradictory that I feel like I'm more impure? Yeah, well, that's a good question. I was thinking of on the stage that I'm on, sadhana bhakti. So when I chant, I realize that I have impurities and I don't think they're imaginary. I think I really do have those impurities. It's not just my own humility or something like that. I actually see, okay, I'm a little bossy, I'm hypocritical. Sometimes I tend to lie a little, or bend the truth, or sometimes, you know, I notice like these tendencies in me, and I realize I got to do some work. I got my work to do. But for an advanced Vaishnava, they might see the impurities. This is just my understanding. They might see the impurities in themselves, which actually are brought about by a transcendental type of emotion, rather than a material distress. Please, Prabhu.
Goswami mentions that he wants to be the lowest, like the worm in the stool.
Yeah.
He's thinking like that. He's thinking like that, but he's so advanced And mostly the way I see it is that they are teaching us what is the mood that we should carry on. We never think that we are really advanced, but it's unlimited surrender. So I have a reflection on your class, because we were talking about Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is experiencing some struggling and suffering, so he goes to take shelter of Lord Vishnu. And then the advice is that that's the correct way to do when you're, who else to take shelter? But also at the same time I was seeing that Krishna arranged in such a way that different devotees give different realizations. For example, Queen Kunti Devi is praying in the opposite ways. Yeah, what is that? Vipada santu tat saswat tatra tatra jagat guru bhavatan darsananjasya apunar bhavadarshanan. She's saying, my Lord, bring those calamities, because more calamities means that I can see you again and again. And what does that mean? That we will not experience repeated birth and death. So that's very high level. Because in the other side, you see people are running, oh, please help me, save me, I need this. She's saying the opposite. She's saying, bring it on, give me more, because I want to see you. Every time I have these troubles, you come to help me. Wow. And I want to keep seeing you and seeing you again and again and again. So I just thought to say that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay. Mahaprasad, yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, you mentioned about different types of mentalities of people that are suffering, like one person thinks that, why is this person causing me suffering? And then you mentioned a second, you said there's a second level where when one's thinking that, well, I'm just getting something back that I did in my previous life or before. So do you have a reference for that, or how did you understand that?
Oh, yes. Thank you for being so attentive. And I was a little worried someone would ask that. Yeah. No, I heard one devotee, a preacher, explaining this, that there's different levels of awareness of the cause of the reactions we receive. And I was just explaining it how I understood it. Yeah. Okay. But I gave the reference just to the Tate nukampam susamikshamana, that the devotee, he's thinking like that this is a reaction that I deserve because of my sinful activities in the past, and the Lord's very kindly giving it to me. And then also there was in the second canto this same word, but without the first syllable. So it's samikshamana, which means perfectly sees, perceives very clearly. So that I took it that, the devotee is able to perceive the cause, the deeper causes of his distress. Even though in that verse Prabhupada calls it earnestly hoping for, but in another place the same word was translated as perfectly sees. So I tried to combine those meanings.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Mahaprasadam ki jai.